Good afternoon, good evening, Harlem and Harlems of the world. I'm Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. We started at the onset of COVID, and we are still here. We are here to engage, to inform, and to call the community to action. That is our mission. We are the voice and the drumbeat of Harlem and the Harlems of the world. We want to really start off today by really just paying tribute, paying homage to our congressman, our Harlem congressman, Charles B. Rangel, who is the lion of Lenox Avenue. He was our congressperson for 46 years, and he was funeralized this week, beginning on Monday, with a tribute by his fraternity, the Alphas. Tuesday, community tribute, all at his home church of St. Aloysius. Wednesday, privately with the family. Thursday at City Hall, lying in state. And then on Thursday, there was an honor service at City Hall. And finally, today, the Friday, he was really funeralized in a statesman service at St. Patrick's Cathedral. So something to behold and a great tribute to our Harlem. So thank you, Congressman Rangel. This is a very, very critical time. It's a critical time in our country as we see all kinds of things going on in Los Angeles, in the Middle East. It's a very, very critical time. And it's so important now that we be engaged. We're also in the middle of our primaries in a mayoral race. The early voting starts Saturday, the 14th. But we have one of our candidates. We also have the mayoral debate that is happening. But even with that, one of our candidates has taken the time to meet with us, talk with us, and for the community to really get to know who he is and whose he is. And that is in the person of candidate Michael Blake. If you would just introduce yourself and let us know who you are and whose you are, sir. Thank you.
Terri, absolutely, Terri. Blessings to be with you. Grateful for the opportunity. Of course, as a son of the South Bronx, I always have love for the village of Harlem, right? So we're neighbors right there. And the work that you're doing at Harlem Network News is so critical because you're creating a voice for people throughout the village. So thank you for all that you do. Everybody, I come to you, Michael Blake, candidate for mayor, born and raised Bronx, New York City Public Schools, K through 12. PS 79, 118, DeWitt Clinton High School, which, we have that shared bond with the line of Lenox, of Congressman Rangel, where equally have the bond with him of being an alpha, a 100 Black man, and a Mason. And so this week, part of the reason we're wearing the pin on today, this week has been honoring one of our legends, and he definitely went home to serve the Lord. Come to you as someone who has served nationally in the White House for 2.5 years under President Obama, 7 years total under his tutelage, and leading African-American minority business outreach, 6 years as an assembly member, created the My Brother's Keeper program, focused on prompt pay, so we pay businesses faster, being much more intentional in diversity in medicine. And Terri, and to everyone that's watching, the reason why I'm running for mayor is that I believe we need a new generation of leadership focused on affordability and really empowering communities of color. Very specifically, I said we need to end credit scores being used for rent and home ownership applications. I think that would change the game when it comes to what's happening in housing. End credit scores as well as increase income limits when it comes to housing applications, because you should not have to be rich or poor enough to get access to a home. We need to have civics, financial literacy, and mental health, as well as expanding My Brother's Keeper and My Sister's Keeper for every student in our schools. If every student could have civics and financial literacy and mental health And in the face of the anti-Blackness that's happening, an expansion of My Brother's Keeper, My Sister's Keeper, that would change the game. And then for public safety, I think we have to have 1,000 mental health professionals instead of the police addressing the crisis on our streets and subways. If we take those steps, we can truly be intentional in how we help our people and be able to counter what's going on in DC, whether it be here in New York City, whether it be in LA with the National Guard being sent in. You need to have someone who is ready to fight immediately. And as the only person who has White House, State House, and local experience, I definitely know and feel that I am that person. And so early voting starts June 14th to the 22nd. Primary day is June 24th. I'm listed 9th on the ballot out of 11 candidates. I am asking that you look for the name of Michael Blake so we can change the game with you.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. That is a lot that we're dealing with in terms of all of the experience that you've had. But if you could reiterate your relationship to the Democratic Party, and then also specifically some of the things that you did under the Obama administration, and just elaborate on what is My Brother's Keeper and now My Sister's Keeper, because we want to make sure that everyone is very clear on what those programs are. And
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely. Of course. So My Brother's Keeper started under the unfortunate life being taken of Trayvon Martin, where, you know, you should never lose your life because of Skittles, right? And all that's happening in our country. And so President Obama created a program called My Brother's Keeper, focused on changing the narrative for Black and brown boys and young men of color, and to make sure we focus on cradle to the career graduation, criminal justice reform, financial literacy, community engagement, just to name a few. We then created that program here in New York State. We are still the only state in the country to have a statewide My Brother's Keeper program. That was my initiative, $20 million annually for that, where funds are going out for kids to be able to go to school and graduate and really have an opportunity otherwise would not have. You know, I've been grateful. I've served as a vice chair of the Democratic National Committee for 4 years, where under our leadership, we defeated Donald Trump. I always remind people of that. Our team defeated Donald Trump. So we know how to beat this man. And which a lot of it is that you have to check the economic foolishness that he's saying. He just says a lot of words that don't actually have any meaning. And to that degree, when we bring it home and bring it together, why is that all connected here? I do believe when you talk about protecting Medicaid and Medicare, having federal experience matters. I do believe when we talk about the anti-DEI rhetoric that's happening at schools, the work of My Brother's Keeper matters. I do believe when you see the truly unconstitutional behavior that's coming out of DC and the ramifications it has in our communities, where I say often, you have to ban ICE from our schools, ban ICE from community centers, ban ICE from our places of worship. Unless there is a signed judicial warrant, ICE should not be present. And saying you're only present if that were to occur, but creating these buildings as safe havens. I'm giving that explanation to demonstrate how my federal experience makes me very prepared for this moment. And so when we talk through how are we changing the game, and someone says, okay, Michael Blake, why you for mayor right now? I want us to internalize that come January 1st, 2026, who is best ready to lead this city in the midst of the attacks from Donald Trump so that we don't lose who we are as a people, as people of color, because too often when cuts happen, it hurts us most. And so we will not lose equity and justice in the face of budget. And so to that degree, I think every candidate needs to explain, how do you pay for your vision? And I have said a vacant apartment tax for anyone that is not utilizing New York City as a primary residence, a vacant commercial tax, similarly for someone that is warehousing their unit, taxing specifically large entities such as the Madison Square Garden, where MSG is not paying property taxes right now, reclaiming the unclaimed fees and fines, about $2 billion, 1.4 of that are parking tickets alone, and then the $1.4 billion of excessive overtime at the NYPD. And so if you take those steps, then I'm showing you very clearly how we pay for the vision of what we want to make happen here to help more people.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing those initiatives, because one of the concerns is in a lot of ways, New York City really is one of the wealthiest cities in the country, so they say. This is the seat of money. And one of the things that we're battling is economic disparities. I know that our current comptroller came out with a report stating, and I kind of fact checked this, that the mean income for Blacks in New York State is 19,000, and for whites, it's 270,000. So that kind of shows you what that playing field is in terms of the balance for economics. And that could potentially be why we have so many of the issues and concerns, mental health, housing, all of those things, because there's a big stack against us. So how do we combat that? Because I know that in New York City, even working people, the tax structure is such that 38% of the income is being taxed. So even working people are struggling with that. How do we level that playing field? Because
Yeah,
even with the
absolutely.
parking tickets, probably those same people are the people that may be having trouble to pay their parking tickets or to pay congestion pricing. How do we level it out?
Few different ways. We need a local median income because area median income is not working. Local median income would incorporate us in a very targeted manner because right now, Westchester County, Suffolk, Rockland are incorporated in these expenses, and that's not fair and it's not right. Second, we need to implement a true cost of living so that we actually understand what is affordability, because people are asking, well, what is affordable? Right? And affordability is not just based upon your housing, it's your child care, which is simply way too expensive, right? Where families are making a decision on do they go outside for a nice dinner or a meeting or engage in the community based upon childcare. Thinking through groceries, thinking through transportation, all of those are intertwined. And so, to your question, what I've said often is that you have to have a bold vision. And I do believe ending credit scores is part of that vision. Credit scores started in 1989. We were clearly able to determine ways to assess the consistency of someone paying their bills before credit scores. 99.9% of people could not even tell you how a credit score is determined, but they can tell you the ramifications if a bill is not paid on time. And I have said often, the best way to gauge someone paying their rent or their mortgage is not a credit score. It's did they pay their rent or mortgage before? Right?
Okay.
And so, like, it just makes more logical sense in that regard for us to address the economic conditions that people are facing, where, there's pride, right? No one wants to say that they're struggling to pay bills. You have a job and have two, life can look great, and you're still trying to assess how do I make ends meet. And when you have enough data and stories saying that more than half of the country does not have $500 in their account if an emergency happens,
Absolutely.
then it makes it very real. And we're seeing this throughout Harlem. We're seeing this throughout New York City. And because of that economic disparity, it leads to scenarios such as deed theft. It leads to scenarios such as small businesses walking away. It leads to scenarios where someone will work in New York, but they'll live in New Jersey, Connecticut, or Pennsylvania because they'll say, I cannot afford this.
Can't afford
And
it.
I do fundamentally believe that you need to have a mayor who understands the affordability crisis and is laying out a plan on how we actually fix it and address it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I think it's very critical. We all feel it. We all know it. And the question is, with the bureaucracies that make up this city, how do you dive in and change that? Because
Yep.
often the AMI people are just saying, well, that's what it is. How do you
Yep.
walk in and change some of these paradigms that are impacting us? Thank you.
I say often, you want to change the game, you have to change the mayor. And this is about leadership and managing 300,000 people across the board. This is about managing a $115 billion budget. and resetting the tone. We have a mayor that's distracted, who's not focused at all on what they have to do, and equally being very attentive with the understanding that we have a housing crisis, we have an economic crisis, we have a crisis on anti-Blackness and anti-Latino, we have a crisis out of DC. So you fix that by putting the right people in place. You fix it by putting other managers in place, because your deputy mayors and your commissioners are also managers of large teams who have to understand the broader vision. Something that was taught to me years ago is that there is a difference between activity and progress. And so when you put the right people in place who understand the conditions that we're in, and that the fundamental concern going through people's mind, not that other issues are not so important, but it is about people understanding that cost of living and affordability is top of mind. And so you break this and you change things by showing a path and a plan. And that's the reason why I continue to highlight, you start from the place of AMI is not working, it needs to be local median income. You start from the place of, you want to address public safety, you have to have 1,000 mental health professionals. You start from the place of, what are we doing to help these kids with their reading pedagogy? You take those kinds of steps, then you can actually change the game in a real thoughtful and impactful way.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of those. I mean, there's so much coming and going in this world right now. One of the hot topics that I don't believe is really being addressed, and if you don't address it, then you can't deal with it. But I know right here in Harlem, in our District 5, which is Central Harlem, and I can clearly speak for that, we are engaged in what I know is a separate but not equal education. In the public schools in Harlem, 99.99% of the students are Black and brown. And the education, I believe, is not up to the standards. A lot of the schools, even the high schools that are under District 5, don't have computers. There are some language barriers that a lot of people are facing that are not being addressed. So could you speak to that? Because a lot of people don't even understand that that is what is going on here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll have to make this my last one here.
Okay,
But
very well. Okay.
Look, I think at the end of the day, this is one of the things that makes me uniquely qualified in this race. You know, I'm an alum of PS 79. PS 79 was written about in savage inequality of children in American schools, and the gap that exists of the same Park Avenue in the Bronx being the same Park Avenue in Manhattan, reminds us the urgency of addressing the educational crisis that exists right now, where too many kids are not being taught on how to read at the grade level they need. Too many kids are not actually having lunch at a realistic time. They're having lunch at 10:30 in the morning, so then they're hungry the rest of the day. You know, there is an immense reality of the segregation that is occurring. It's one of the reasons why I've said consistently that I do think you need to stop the process of specialized high school exams being admitted through an exam, right? There's many ways to understand if a kid is great and exemplary beyond it. But we have to be intentional. And in the exact same way you're intentional in the private sector, you got to be that same way in the public sector of saying, we are going to make diversity happen here. We are not going to allow this to be a space that is one race alone itself. And that comes from the hiring practices, that comes from the recruitment practices, that comes from the efforts of finding the families and the students, and being willing to take chances, right? A lot of times we get to a space where you're like, you know what, I may not go into that community. Well, why, right? Why? You're missing out on gems that are there throughout. And so for anyone that's watching and listening, as we gear up for early voting starting tomorrow across New York City, as we gear up for June 24th in this primary, as you get to now see, as you all saw last week on the debate, it was pretty clear from the New York Times to the New York Post to the Daily News. How often could three outlets all agree that Michael Blake won the debate? And that it was very clear that I laid out a vision on how do we break what's happening around the segregated practices of education to the economic injustices that are happening in our city. and making it also very clear that Black folk do not have to go back to Cuomo. You know, your daughters, your mamas, or your grandmas are not safe around this man, which he has now admitted as of yesterday that he did see the nursing home report and his team was a part of editing the report. He has finally admitted it out loud. And so for something we all knew, 15,000 people who are dead because of policies from Andrew Cuomo. You do not have to go back to an Andrew Cuomo. You can move forward with Michael Blake. And so I am asking everybody, I'm listed 9th on the ballot out of 11 candidates. I want you to rank me first. You, of course, get to choose 5 people. If I'm not your first choice, I want to be your second choice. If I'm not your second choice, we need to have a conversation. But either way, we can figure it all out together to make sure I'm part of your rankings. To learn more about my education vision and my overall vision, Blake, FORNYC.com, Blake4NYC.com. And Terry, again, I'm just grateful for you and your leadership. Your voice is necessary to the people of the village of Harlem. You probably see me all the time. I'm at Ponte Bistro, I'm at 67 Orange, Sugar Monk, Harlem Cafe. Y'all see me. So you're going to keep seeing us more and more often. Lenox Terrace, I was just at Lenox Terrace last week greeting voters. And I'll see a bunch of y'all tomorrow. Sean Burke Centennial happening tomorrow. So look out for us. But again, my name is Michael Blake, and you've given me the chance before, and I'm asking you to give me the chance again to help lead this city.
Okay, well, thank you, Brother Blake, for coming on Harlem Network News and just recognizing the importance of media, the importance of the narrative. This is why we continue to do the work. Funding is desperately needed to infuse Black media. It's part of why people are unaware of what's going on. And a lot of people are disillusioned, so they don't engage. So we encourage everybody to get out to vote and to be informed and to be engaged. And happy early Juneteenth. We got a lot going on here in Harlem tomorrow with our annual Juneteenth parade. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you. And, you know, we'll see what happens with our mayoral race. But I just want to encourage everyone in this mayoral race, as engaged as folks are, to come out and become the mayor. If anyone doesn't become the mayor, you still need to be engaged because the problems are not going away. So
absolutely.
Critical, critical, critical. Harlem Network News, you can find us on YouTube, all of the social media. You can reach us at 646-261-5397 or harlemnetworknews@gmail.com. And Black media matters. It's okay to say that. We matter. Thank you. All right. Have a great day. All right.
You as well. Take care.
All righty. Thank you.